Well, here we are. We're live on a Tuesday night. I'm rushing
It's
it.
all blending. It's all blending into
It
one big
blended in
font.
weeks ago. Tuesday, 19th of May, 2020. Joe Chaffee, Joe Rayo on the always
Air outside
ex.
your house.
What was
Sometimes it's
that?
hot,
Hang on, Joe.
sometimes it's
I,
cold,
I just
and
got
it all
to. I'm running behind you on YouTube, and when it comes up, sometimes it comes up and the volume is down. Sometimes it comes up and the volume is up.
I
I
see.
whatever.
Well, it's the always exciting, always popular, never a dull moment. Joe and Joe Weather Show.
Yes,
So I guess we are guest free tonight.
we're guest free. Yes, I
Okay.
have not heard from one of the guests. Now I'm going to have to
Well,
wait
one of
for the
them's gonna, one of them answers his emails every 30 or 40 days. So,
exactly.
so, and we'll wait to hear from from the other one with whom I'm very close with, but we'll see. So, um, kind of an odd day, but I had a lot of sun into early afternoon, and then the clouds came in. The wind actually picked up quite a bit during the day today. I definitely had some gusts between 30 and 35. They had to put up a wind advisory for the coastal counties in New Jersey, because they were having gusts over 40 miles an hour there. At least last
Right.
I checked, over an hour ago. Still a few spots kind of windy, but rain is nowhere close. It's pinned down in North Carolina, southwestern Virginia, up through the Central Appalachians, and they're going to get some heavy rains there. Uh, and we're looking at the Memorial Day holiday weekend. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about it. I don't think it's going to be picture perfect. On the other hand, I'm trying to be guardedly optimistic.
Well, I think what we're going to run into as a problem is Friday night into at least the first half of Saturday. I think we have a shot at getting grazed at least by some clouds and some scattered showers. And then when we get into Sunday, we are going to have the system that is now to our west out over the ocean and combined with this massive high pressure ridge that is building down in our direction even as I speak to you. And that's going to provide us with, I think, a rather cool and gusty northeasterly breeze. So Sunday will be, I think, a nice day, but I think it'll be rather coolish for this time of the year.
Kind of
And
what like today
maybe,
was.
yeah, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll have a nice day on Memorial Day Monday.
Yeah, I don't see, well, Sunday and Monday for sure. I don't see those 2 days as being, I don't think you're gonna have any real washouts. Saturday early on, there might be, especially from New York City north and east. It looked like there might be a few showers there, but south and west, if you go head down south toward Philadelphia, I did that for you, Greg. For Philadelphia, south and west, there it might be more cloudy to partly sunny there. Depending,
Yeah.
a lot depends on the surface flow and how much how much in the way of low clouds are going to be pinched in. Does it burn off? Does it not burn off? I think that there's a better chance of it burning off when you head down, say, towards southeast PA, southern New Jersey, and point south, rather than going northeast. And then Sunday and Monday, yeah, again, kind of, 50-50. The worst case scenario would be that we wind up with more clouds than anything else on Sunday. And yeah, Monday I'm thinking, clouds and some sun. That's how I went with it in my forecast outlook.
And I decided I'd do a little history check, Joe, over the last 10 Memorial Days from 2010 to 2019. Came up with some interesting statistics here, at least
Okay.
for Central Park. the the warmest Memorial Day in the last 10, out of the last 10, 2010 and 2015, we had 85-degree temperatures on those two particular Memorial Days. The coolest, and I don't even remember that it got this cool. 2017, high temperature, Central Park, 61 degrees. The coolest Memorial Day in the last,
For a high?
for a high, 61 degrees.
Wow.
The wettest was the year before, 2016, 1.65 inches of rain. A cloudy, dank, dreary, dull blech, day for Memorial Day 2016. So 4 out of the last 10 Memorial Days have had some measurable precipitation. And the average, you take all of the years, including that 61-degree year, you take all of the last 10 Memorial Days and average them out, the average temperature, 77 degrees, because in as much as we've had temperatures in the 60s, 2017, 2018, 2013, we also had a heck of a lot of days in the 80s. Again, 85 in 2010 and 85 in 2015. And there were even 80s, 81 in 2011, 82 and 82 in 2012, 81 in 2014. So either we have temperatures that have been in the 60s or the 80s over the
Right.
last 10 years of records at Central Park. And this year, it looks like we may have a year where temperatures may actually be more like the 70s.
Right, and
As
if you're going to, I know a lot of people like to hit the shore for the for the Memorial Day holiday weekend, regardless of the temperatures, but definitely not going to be beach weather. I don't I have this general rule unless unless I'm forced to, I don't go into the ocean except maybe the last 2 weeks of August, the first week of September, when the water temperatures are a less unreasonable 75 or 76 or higher. But this time of year where the water temperatures are still in the 50s, I don't know how people do that. I really don't. I don't care how hot it is. It's like
I
having
think
knives stuck in you.
I think it was Memorial Day. I remember watching you on News 12 Long Island one particular Memorial Day. There were a lot of people at the beach and shore. It had a wide shot. We heard you talking, and we couldn't see you. And then finally, as we slowly began to zoom in, we were able to pick out. Oh, wait a minute, there he is! And you were walking amongst the blankets. I don't know if you remember that particular
I don't
shot,
remember that particular one,
but
but
you do remember being at the beach, Jones
oh,
Beach on
a few
yeah.
times in
Yeah.
my long esteemed
Story,
television career, such as it was.
storied career. Yeah.
Yes. So Arthur is now post-tropical,
Right.
and I got it on the loop. I brought it up on the screen here. The winds actually, you can still see the center. It's becoming, it's starting to get that non-tropical look to it. So I know at the Hurricane Center just figure they just rush it along. The winds, where the top winds actually were up at about 60 miles an hour. I really didn't see, what, on the 18Z map. On the 18Z map, it's plotted as a 994, and don't have the 21Z yet. We might have it in a little while. So, the pressures did get down into the 993, 994 range, which we talked about yesterday, is pretty impressive for this time of year. And of course, we were in a very interesting spot here. We've got Arthur to the east. We have this giant upper low sitting in Illinois, and you could see the clouds rotating back westward from Virginia and North Carolina. And then, of course, there was this sweet spot that was sitting up in New England, that drier air that came down almost like a V shape push that wedged down into southern New Jersey, northern Delaware. Now, more clouds have rolled in, obviously, during the late afternoon and evening, but we kind of got into that sweet spot for today, and that, I think we're going to just see basically a replay of that tomorrow, and to a certain extent also on Thursday.
I think tonight we're just going to see a lot of clouds, considerable cloud cover. And then as we move through the day tomorrow, after maybe a somewhat cloudy morning, as I agree with you, Joe, I think what we'll see is another day where we'll land in the sweet spot and get into a goodly amount of sunshine by late morning and afternoon, veiled maybe by a few wispy high clouds. And then actually, I think we'll just go clear tomorrow night and then have a very bright day with not much in the way of cloud cover at all for Thursday, and then we'll start looking at the potential problem for later Friday into the early part of Saturday with more cloud cover and a little bit of precipitation. Not a whole heck of a lot though.
We're still getting some pretty gusty winds from the Delmarva Peninsula on northward along the Delaware coast. Some gusts up into the low 40s. Atlantic City inland at the airport was actually east northeast at 22, gusting to 41 miles an hour on the last ob. And going up further to the north on Long Island, the winds have kind of dropped off a bit. We're just basically between 20 and 25 in the gusts, with the sustained winds at around 10 to 20. But it was every bit of 15 to 25 with gusts of about 35 here during the afternoon hours coming in off of Long Island Sound. And most temperatures right now, you get into the low and mid 50s when you go into southeastern New England, and then you start to see those numbers move up, upper 50s to low 60s, working your way inland. And of course, heading down into Virginia and West Virginia, you're in the 50s and 50s to near 60, and mainly because of the fact that it's a solid overcast and they've been dealing with a ton of rain in some places, and the temperatures mostly in the 50s to around 60, a little bit warmer right along the immediate coast in North Carolina. So it's actually fairly cool throughout much of the eastern U.S. And as far as warnings go and watches that we have up tonight, we've got flash flood watches up for the western half of North Carolina, southwestern Virginia, a handful of counties in northern South Carolina, also in eastern Kentucky, southwest Ohio, southeast Indiana. Uh, Seeing out in the southwestern part of the U.S. Wind advisories and red flag warnings because of that weather system that's come in into the west. And the heavy weather tonight is up in, actually, we don't mention this too often, but up in Montana, Joe, we've got a working severe thunderstorm watch up in western Montana, along with flash flood watches across northern Idaho and into southeastern Washington, northeastern Oregon. So a little bit of action, but much of the country is actually on the quiet side today.
Yeah, and if you've ever been up in that country, Joe, and I have, big sky country, Montana. In fact, through most of the Rocky Mountain states, they don't really refer to these as thunderstorms. They call them electrical storms. And if you've ever experienced, here, when we get a thunderstorm, sometimes you don't know a thunderstorm is out there unless you hear it, and you really can't see it because a lot of times, especially in the summer, it's so hazy that you just see a gradual darkening of the sky. But out there, out in the Rockies, you could see a thunderstorm coming your way from like 40 or 50 miles, and the lightning is so vibrant, so vivid, and sometimes they have what they call dry thunderstorms, which actually
Yes.
start forest fires. And yeah, but it is kind of unusual to see an alert for severe weather in Montana. But that's what we got right now.
Post tropical storm Arthur. Here's the last advisory from the Hurricane Center, issued at 11 a.m., making a turn to the southeast and south, gradually weakening until it's a post tropical depression by the time it reaches Bermuda Thursday morning. So we're all done with Arthur. And the Storm Prediction Center, going back to severe weather, there's that working severe thunderstorm watch up in Montana and parts of northeastern Idaho, inside an area of marginal to slight risk. You've got a couple of patches of marginal risk for severe weather tonight. In a narrow band from eastern Wyoming down into northwest Texas, another narrow band from northeastern Texas southeastward into southern Mississippi to about the Florida Panhandle, and also in southern Florida and in a small area covering, say, the northern half of South Carolina. The next couple of days with severe weather risks, we are looking at tomorrow a narrow band that runs from West Texas all the way up into eastern Montana, western North Dakota, slight risk and even enhanced risk in eastern Wyoming and in the extreme western part of South Dakota and Nebraska. Also, a small area of marginal risk in coastal Georgia and coastal South Carolina. And on this is Thursday into Friday, which is day 3. We have a slight risk in the Oklahoma Panhandle, northeast Texas, all the way up, and in southwestern Kansas. And I don't think we have anything to worry about days 4 through 8. I'll give it a quick check here. And nope, predictability too low, predictability too low, potential too low for the day. Looks like day 7 and 8, potential too low. So no widespread outbreaks tonight.
No.
Look at this satellite loop, Mr. Rayo. That upper low is so far west. It's no wonder we were able to get in some of that drier air to come down out of eastern Canada.
Well, I think the gusty winds that we saw today, we talk about, and I've seen and heard other forecasters reference Arthur, but I think really Arthur was just a minor player. This big high pressure dome is so large and so extensive, so that even if you had a weak disturbance trying to push into it or
Oh, any kind of low would have caused those winds.
height
Yeah.
that gradient up really fast. So I think the winds they were more a function of the high as opposed to the low or to Arthur. But
Yeah,
in
I
any
got the
case,
surface map up. Arthur's way out there. I mean,
yeah,
it's at about 37 and about 67 on at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Yeah, it just I guess it's there's just enough of it pinching back northwestward that it was able to kind of squeeze the gradient a little bit.
right.
Also, the daytime heating helps. This time of year, that sun being so strong, you get daytime heating in the situation. You get a lot of mixing. Any kind of a gradient, the wind winds up just getting pretty gusty.
That's right. And basically, with its 60-mile-per-hour winds, even though it's no longer a full-fledged tropical system, Arthur is kind of like an egg beater out there. If you can imagine a giant egg beater helping to churn the waters, and that's why we have those coastal and high surf advisories up and down the Jersey Shore and across the south coast of Long Island.
By the way, the high is a is it about say about 50 and let's say about 72 or 3. And it's a 1035 high. That's
That's
pretty. That's
pretty
that's very strong for this time of year. It really
absolute,
is. And
absolute.
and I think it really just overwhelms everything in eastern Canada, down through New England, all the way. That the high is wedged all the way into almost into South Carolina. That's why you've got 50s clear down through much of North Carolina until you get to the other side, and then you start. There's actually a bit of a warm sector that's setting up in the southern part of South Carolina with temperatures in the 80s and dew points in the mid 60s, and that's where SPC's got that marginal risk, and that front tails down into northern Florida. So yeah, it's a little bit of an unusual setup because of the upper low and that big high to the north. But you know what? It is what it is. And we're just going to have to wait until the the big upper high that's building up also in the northern lakes and over New England get disappears, and that's not going to happen until late this week. So that's when we'll probably get some of this. This what's left of this upper low is going to try to lift northeastward. I don't know how much is going to be left with this, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know how much this is going to be able to produce.
And I think the upper high, as you mentioned, when the actual uh, surface feature and upper low move mostly south of us Friday into Saturday. Once that's out over the ocean, I think that big high is going to kind of once again make a comeback here, and that's why I say on Sunday I could see a resurgence of northeasterly winds and somewhat cooler temperatures. I think temperatures will climb to the 70s again on Friday and Saturday, but then we may see a drop back into the 60s on Sunday with the return of the northeast wind, that big fair weather high, but then jump back into the 70s for Monday and Tuesday of next week.
By the way, the Weather Prediction Center on their 7-day rainfall map tonight from New York City north and east, nothing, not a drop for the next 7 days. It looks like the line, the point oh 0.01 cuts right at New York City and across northern New Jersey. So look, if you want to be fair, the dark green The darkest green is a quarter to a half an inch. You have to go down to Delaware and southern Pennsylvania to get into that. So that probably is some of the leftover moisture coming up on Friday. But if you believe WPC, much of that winds up weakening as it moves northeastward. So they're really not showing very much. Big rains, of course, they've already had quite a bit of heavy rain, another 3 to 5 inches in the western half of North Carolina, northern parts of South Carolina, into southwestern Virginia. The 1 inch line gets almost to about Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and runs back west across northern West Virginia, southern Ohio, and then turns there and goes south through eastern Kentucky. And also some big rains in central and west Texas on the order of 2 to 4 inches over the next 7 days, and some action up where we've got that severe weather going on tonight in Montana. Joe, WPC has anywhere from an inch and a half to 2.5 inches of rain up over the next 7 days in the northern Rockies.
Wow. Wow.
Not too
And
dry.
yeah, it's pretty good. But again, severe weather in that part of the country doesn't happen too often. But this is one of those kind times.
All right, so let's. I'm going to bring up the U.S. view here. I'm going to put the upper air so we can take a look at what's going on with all of this. And of course, starting with tonight, there's your wrap. If you look where the upper low is, basically it's sitting in west central Tennessee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contours cut off. Okay, and you got a ridge, Joe, that's building around it uh, from the west, up from Texas, back up over Minnesota into Lake Superior. Here's your upper low, completely separated from the flow. There's nothing. If you follow the main flow, it comes in the west. You got this deep upper low in Nevada. The jet runs south to north through Montana, then swings across southern Canada above the ridge, and then comes back down in northeastern New England. That upper low is basically just kind of trapped in there. And the upper high, the ridge builds over the top. Take a look. You don't see this too often, Joe. Look at this big upper high building from Lake Superior southeast to New Jersey and Long Island come Wednesday night and Thursday. Again, that upper low stays. The upper low is a little weaker by the time we get to Thursday, but it's still sitting in central Tennessee. And then finally, the ridge breaks down as we go into Friday, and what's left of this trough is very weak and comes through Friday night and Saturday, and then it looks like just kind of very weak troughing that hangs around over the weekend, at least into Sunday, before it finally the flow sort of flattens out a bit as we go into Memorial Day. I mean, there's nothing really here. I don't think there's anything that there on here to worry about that could turn those weekend days, those holiday weekend days, into a washout at all. It's not like we have some pressing, intense shortwave and deep trough coming into the east. We're basically dealing with the leftovers of this upper low, which is peaking in strength now and is just going to slowly fall apart over time.
And the folks over at CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, are suggesting that for our part of the country, our neck of the woods, both on the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlook. Now we're talking about out to 2 weeks from now.
Right.
Talking about above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation. In other words, mild or even warm and dry weather.
So that
Beginning the day after actually the day of Memorial Day, Monday of next week, continuing all the way out to a week beyond June 2nd. So
that means rigid. That means some sort of ridging or a very weak flow across the northern tier for later next week. Frankly, a little warm weather would be most welcome. There's your big high, by the way, on Thursday, sitting right over northern New Jersey. At least Thursday morning early. Then it parks itself east of Cape Cod and just kind of jumps around. The rain area moves up northward on Thursday, gets into northern Virginia, or at least tries, but the high is kind of holding it back. And then you look on Friday, Joe, it's kind of like a weakening stick of rain that moves northeastward Friday night into Saturday. But your high builds almost right back in north of Maine and hangs around over the weekend with a weak low that's offshore. Uh, yeah, I mean, again, there's no wipeout here. So, but I think Saturday's the one day where you have to wonder whether there might be some cloud issues and maybe a couple of showers north and east of New York City. But south and west, I think it should be better.
Yeah,
And
and
Sunday and Monday look pretty decent.
the kind of flow that we're going to get into um, as we progress into Thursday, for example, that flow is going to bring air in from really an unpolluted area, an unpolluted region, Eastern Canada, the Atlantic Ocean. So the transparency, the blueness of the sky, I think, on Thursday will really, I think, be rather impressive. I mean, and especially so since ever since the COVID-19 saga and the much fewer aircraft in the air, the atmosphere has been getting cleaner, less
Yes.
pollution. So I think Thursday you're really going to enjoy a nice blue sky and brilliant sunshine. And I don't know how many of you, who are off, would want to step outside, maybe lie in the sun. I think you, with the high sun angle that we have right now, equivalent to what we have in August, early August. I think you can get a pretty good tan or maybe even a bad burn if you're out in the sun too long on
Oh,
Thursday.
absolutely. Just running. By the way, on Friday, some snow shows up in the where they're getting the severe weather
Oh,
in the
please,
Western
come
Rockies.
on.
Some snow shows up on the GFS up there by the end of the week. Believe it or not. Just
Yeah,
running
but
through.
this is going to be the year when WPC is going to be issuing snow forecasts or snow maps or probabilities right under July or August.
I don't see, going into next week. I'm just kind of looking at the surface. I see where, it yeah, I mean, you have higher pressures basically running from the Mississippi River all the way east, off the East Coast and out into the Atlantic. I'm going to bring the upper air up again just to take a look at this. There's some kind of cold front that gets through here on day 11, which is next Friday, the 29th of May, and then a little weak high builds in. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything overly exciting uh, to speak
It,
of going
incidentally,
on.
incidentally, Joe, I don't know whether or not this is a malfunction or whether or not they have simply closed shop in terms of winter weather at WPC. I keep going to winter weather on the menu, and I
Hmm.
end up at a blank page. So
Well,
maybe,
maybe they're down. It could be they're down. There's all sorts of weird things happening on websites. As I can attest to, because mine has been this 3 days now with these brute force attacks that are going on. Uh,
incidentally, something interesting happened tonight. I was just about to tell you before we went on the air. I normally at 6:30 I tune into CBS to watch Nora O'Donnell and the evening news there.
mhm.
And for the first 5 minutes, from 6:30 to 6:35, they just kept running the same loop of commercials for not even for Tuesday night, for Monday night.
Really?
Show there on Monday night, and we're like at 6:35, and I'm saying, what happened to Nora O'Donnell? What happened to CBS News? And then all of a sudden, you were taken to CBSN. They're
Yeah, they
they're
they every
online.
there must be there's all sorts of weird technical issues that go on in newscasts. I love when the audio, they bleeds over. You hear all this audio in the background you're not supposed to hear.
Yeah, yeah. But there must have been something really crazy that had happened because their news tonight, the CBS Evening News, was replaced by what you would normally get if you went on to get their news 24/7, the streaming news service. And
They must have
I
had some kind. I bet you they must have maybe had some kind of failure. Who knows?
yeah, who
I just
knows?
real quick, the upper air. I just was looking at it for next week, and a ridge does build starting on Tuesday off the southeast from the southeast coast and pushes up into in all of the east through much of next week. There's a bit of a trough with the cold front when you get toward this is May 30th. that moves on through, and of course it makes a cutoff low that drops southward right along the coast. Who knows if that's right or wrong? But the bottom line is, yes, CPC's got the right idea with regards to their look of things on the longer term. So I got you full screen. We are back up on the chat board, which is always such a very, very busy place to be.
Well, I do have Mr. Oh, darn it.
What? You lost it?
I had the Jeopardy, the Briller Jeopardy question. And how many of you does this happen to? You get a message from somebody, or you get some notation, and then you come back a little later, and that thing is completely gone.
I've had that happen sometimes. Yeah, it's weird. Or if I really need to get to Messenger, will be the time that it doesn't load.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got, it does happen. And Facebook's had problems today. I haven't seen the problem show up on my end, but I did have a thing come up that said we're having problems with posts today. And my response to that is you should have problems.
No, wait a minute. I got it. I got it
Okay.
back. I got it back.
All right, you go.
Funny thing, the way I got it back was I somebody else who had sent me a message, and when I went there, I looked down the list,
And it
and there
populated.
there's Mr. Briller. So he writes. He said, I'll be working Tuesday and Thursday. Thought we'd ask Mr. Choppy a Briller Jeopardy question. The big five Academy Awards are Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actor, and Best Actress. In the history of Academy Awards, only 3 films have won all five.
All five.
All five. And the five categories again: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Actress. And only in the entire history of the Academy Awards, only 3 films have swept with all five.
Okay, hold on. Let me think this through. Okay, so I want to say one of them is in the 1930s.
He doesn't give me the year, but
Okay,
he gives me the
so
name.
I'm wondering because I'm thinking Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. Was it Grand Hotel? Oh God, you know. Uh,
Oh, wait a minute. Scrolling down here. You can give him the years for hints. Are you
okay,
ready?
go ahead.
Okay,
If it's anything in the recent years, I probably won't know it. But go on.
all right. Well, the 3 years are 1934,
So
1975, and 1991.
okay, so 1934. It happened one night.
Okay, ding.
That's Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. So okay,
That's right.
1975.
Yes,
I'm gonna say One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
ding. You got that
Okay, now 1991.
right.
Oh God, this is where I probably start to fade when it comes to movies.
I'll give you a hint,
Go
Joe.
ahead, give me a hint.
Sometimes you're so bad or bad.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, good. Yeah,
1991.
it was 91 was Silent. It's funny because actually it was on. Um, I think that weekend before it was on weekend before last, and I had a tough time watching it the first time when I saw it the first time around. I mean, I know I'm finding now as I've gotten older that I'm having a very very difficult time watching gruesome movies. And I'm not talking about the stuff that was done in the 40s and 50s. Those horror movies.
Right,
There's a lot of those are so bad that they're good.
right.
But the movies in quality movies though, and in the last 20 years or so, Having not seen Silence of the Lambs in many, many years, and I happen to have it on, I actually had to walk away from it. I was having a very difficult time with it.
Hmm.
So it probably and it that plays to the strength of just how well done that movie is. Uh,
Right.
and I found myself, even when we were talking about yesterday on Netflix, watching Versace, which is it's a show about the assassination of Johnny Versace back in 1997. It's a very, very, it's well done, but it's extremely disturbing, and it's a profile of the killer who's, completely out of his mind.
Right.
And I found it very, very hard to watch because you know what's going to happen, and you have to you watch four people die in a pretty gruesome in very gruesome ways. So I'm uh, I'm getting sensitive in my old age.
Yeah. And things
So you
things
have to you have to say though, I got those three. I
Yeah.
appreciate the hint.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
I knew it was the Carol Lombard Gable movie, and I just couldn't remember. The title hadn't come to me until then, and then the other ones. That's
Right.
pretty cool.
Right.
So anyway, and I'm almost down to the end of my wine. Now I
You know,
am.
things just don't come to us like they used to. Like, yeah,
I'll
was it
say.
yesterday we couldn't remember Norman Rockwell.
I
5 or 10
know.
years ago would have come like that, but like the who, what, where, you know.
Oh, Gregory Carriga says the same thing. He can't watch anything like that anymore. I know exactly. I know it's I don't know why. I know that stuff never used to bother me. Now it does.
Oh well. Matt
Uh,
Matt Matt Coletta says, Joe, are Phyllis George go
Goes in
into Broadcast Hall of Fame for first woman in the booth
for doing sports.
to do sports, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um. Oh, Sal Blandino
Sal
is on.
Blandino,
Oh,
you and
bless
I both,
Sal.
our eyes landed on that name immediately.
Sal is sitting there. I mean, I know he's like in absolute tears, worried about any kind of back door for the holiday weekend. You know what? Get over it. I don't know what else to say. Sal, you take this stuff too darn seriously, for Christ's sake.
Indeed,
Relax.
indeed.
Christina Pedia said last I saw The Boy in the Striped Pajamas last year. Let's say wow if you haven't seen it. Okay, I'll put it down on my list of movies to see. The Boy in the Striped um,
Pajamas.
Pajamas. Okay. I used to go to movies a lot. Uh, it was very actually most years I would always make it a point to see all the Academy Award nominated the movies for Best Picture, and most of the time they would also have all the actors and actresses that were in the mix. But I don't know. In the last 10 or 15 years, I kind of I stopped doing it. I don't know why. Maybe because movies got too expensive.
If you want to see a really what I would call a creepy film with a
Yes.
with a person who everybody is beloved, I think by everybody. I just want to make sure I say I give you the correct. Hold on for a second. I'm not sure whether it's one thing or the other. It's, uh, uh, the star of the film is Robin Williams, and okay, 1 hour photo.
Oh, when he works like in an old photo mat place,
Right,
and it's very creepy.
it is.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I said.
I
Really,
think I
you
saw
want to see a
that.
film that really creeps you out.
Yeah,
That's the film.
I think I saw that years ago. What was the year of that movie?
2002.
I think I saw it. Yeah, it's creepy. It's
It
very
comes on
creepy.
every once in a while on cable, and it was written. I'm just looking here on Wikipedia. It is directed by Mark Romanek, stars Robin Williams, Connie Nielsen,
Hmm.
Michael uh, Vartan, Gary Cole, and Eric LaSalle, and was produced by Catch 23 Entertainment. This, yeah, this is one that if you're a big fan of Robin Williams but yet had never seen him perform, this is a 96-minute film, and the budget was 12 million and it made 52.2 at the box office.
Well, that's good. That's a
That's
hit.
that's good. Yeah.
Christina Pedia says, just says 1 hour photo is an amazing movie. Sal Blandino,
Is he
apparently,
still harping on the
well,
fact?
no, he's talking about this back. He says he didn't hear it here. Some, he heard it from some other weather source. Sal, you're so busy looking at everybody's weather page and weather video, etc. Do you have any time to actually look out the window? I mean, how do you enjoy any nice weather we have if all you're doing is looking at weather all day long online? I mean, I don't get it.
All right, Joe, let's break it to him. Sal, we're gonna have a backdoor come through on Sunday. Roaring northeast
Oh
winds,
no, no,
low
be
cloud
nice, be
cover,
nice. No,
spotty mist and drizzle.
he's gonna, he's gonna flip out. He's gonna flip out. I'm being very kind to you, Sal. Okay, just so you know, we're being very kind to you. All right.
I'm telling you, Sal, listen to me. At least on Thursday, you'll have dazzling, beautiful blue skies and sunshine. I'll be thinking of you all day every time I look up.
Frank Riccio says he hated Pulp Fiction. Very violent, but some people loved it. I found Pulp Fiction to be an interesting movie. It's a little weird, a little odd, but I think it was certainly geared toward a younger crowd at the time it came out. But I got some of it. You knew I'd reached the second plateau because I got some of it, but not all of it. Now I've reached the third plateau. I don't get any of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, shall we wrap it up here at 7:42 on a Tuesday night?
I think so.
No,
We've talked about just about everything, but
the
yeah,
kitchen sink.
the kitchen sink.
So once again, as I mentioned a little while ago, those of you who are on the Meteorologist Joe Chaffee weather app, or if you use my website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com, there has been this brute force attack on the server that started over the weekend and it continues today. The site comes and goes. It seems like every time I try to post something is when it goes down. So, and as not, I'm patiently waiting for the people who manage those servers to, resolve this issue. But what can you do? In the meantime, if you're on my Patreon platform, there's no issue there. So no worries on that end. If you're not on Patreon, here's your opportunity to join. It's just $2 a month, and it goes a long way to buying a cup of coffee and a couple of cigars for me every once in a great while. And I thank those of you who have considered or have joined it. And I can't think of anything else to say.
Neither can I.
So let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.